Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. The burial of Kimani Ichun'gwa's father, Isaac Ngugi, in Kiambu turned into a political theater, with politicians taking to the microphone to make political undertones. And I think it should be a logic that it should apply everywhere, that if you don't know the deceased, don't take microphone and masquerade to be making some tribute. And in this podcast, I'll show you why the president gets irritated when the government is criticized. He really picked up a beef with a bishop, the presiding bishop, who was the moderator in the funeral ceremony. Before we get to those details, I want to say thank you very much and still finally come to you that, as I said, today we are supposed to end this appeal by tomorrow morning. For this month of April, we stopped all the other projects that we had lined up so that we could respond to appeal to support these stranded students. These 4 students have different needs and they come from disadvantaged families. And this we call educate a child. In this, what we are targeting, or what we are requesting, is respond to make us, support us, pay school fees for 2 who are in TVET. One is in Kisumu and Sigalagala. There is the other boy who is also in KMTC, who joined in May, but is going through challenges for the 2nd semester, and a girl in a girls' school in Runyenjes. And we are reaching out to you in a special way to help us achieve that. And I want to say thank you very much. Since we started, I think if we can get volunteers who can volunteer to help us get the remaining target of 63,000, we shall be grateful. The deficit is 63,000. And yes, if we can get volunteers who can help us top up, by tomorrow morning, I will dispatch Kawira and the team to make sure that they sort out those students. And thank you very much for responding to us. We always say, kidogo kidogo hujeza kibaba. If you can make a very last minute push, I believe that by tomorrow, we shall achieve the target and support the 4 students. That is our project. For those who are asking, Kevin, what are we doing for this month? That is what we are doing for this month. Now, in that funeral, I sampled speeches from 2 leaders. This is Aaron Cheriot and Junaid Mohammed.
That a few months to the election, when a certain decision was made, which, whether it was right or wrong, time has lived to prove who was right, between those who said we take a particular position. I'm avoiding to say you, Your Excellency, but you know that. And those like Kimani, who put their foot down and said that this is a wrong decision. In fact, on the day that the unveiling was being done, Kimani never showed up to that meeting. And when I called him to say, please, you're a team member, once a decision has been made, you have to live by it, he told me, Aaron, you know me very well. For me, black is black and white is white. That is a wrong decision.
Your Excellency, this Kimani has been my friend. Actually, what we are doing now in Parliament and in the country and these broad-based and these issues, Your Excellency, the person who invited me to this work is Kimani himself. I must confess here, one day I was I think I was in Palasina Hotel one evening, around 4 o'clock. Kimani called me, told me, where are you? I told him I'm on State House Road, Palasina Hotel. He said, come to my office in Kilimani area. I think he's an accountant. That's what where he does his accountancy. So I went to that office and he told me, my friend, we need to work together. We need to bring the country together. We need to have one nation. We are now the leaders. If this country breaks, we'll be blamed. We need to work together. And he talked to me at length for an hour. I told him, leader, I've heard you. You know, I'm just a bishop in charge of the diocese of Parliament. Let me go talk to my Pope. Then tomorrow, I'll come and see you.
Intentionally, because they represent the leadership both in the Senate and in the National Assembly. And it's really, I was expecting that it cannot be so predictable. The burial of the father to majority leader, why it should still turn to be the art of politics, is something that you really wonder what exactly is wrong with us. And let me tell you, even if you listen, I don't know, that is how that gets to a funeral. Maybe you don't get it. But you'll understand, even Kimani Ichun'gwa himself was talking pure politics and was using that opportunity to make political statements. I want to believe, even if you're a politician, but that is a family affair.
Aaron and Speaker Wetangula has said, mzee unasikia alirudia girlfriend wake akiwa kijana kutoka kabila nyingine. Hajatulea na kutuonyesha ukabila hata kidogo. And I want to take this opportunity to request all my compatriots, all the people of Kenya, please understand me when I refuse, because I refuse to get into ethnic-based politics because I am not raised that way, and it is not the legacy that my father would have wanted to see either in me or in any of our brothers, because ako na watoto ambao ni wa kutoka jamii nyingi na ametulea kama jamii moja. He never discriminated any child. Haungejua ni mtoto gani wake, ni mgani sio wake. Anasomesha watoto wa wafanyikazi wake.
That maybe needs to be respected. Curiously, do you know that Cecil Barere, the Embu governor, was present, and despite of the presence of the host governor was not given a chance to speak, just acknowledged to wave, and was supposed to be the person to spearhead part of that MC process, and was denied the chance to speak there, while Cecil Barere, the Embu governor, was the person that was given chance. Yes. So I can tell you how sometimes politics is played in some of these events. This is not a very serious observation, but allow me just to make it. Maybe some of you will make sense of it. I have noticed that when president is attending functions in Luo Nyanza, like funerals, you will not see Kithure Kindiki. He will attend with Raila Odinga, and Raila Odinga will be given the superior seat, and every member of parliament from Luo Nyanza will be using that opportunity to talk about broad-based government. So when the president is talking somewhere in Nyanza in Western, there is so much mention of broad-based government. Today, the event, the burial ceremony in Kiambu, it is Kindiki who attended. Raila Odinga was not present, and I've not had broad-based government. I've not had any leader from Kikuyu land, or they're talking about broad-based government, except Junet Mohammed. That begs the question. This BBG thing that Raila and the team are flaunting and talking about, is it really in the hearts of the people, or it is just a political scarecrow that is being used to mobilize people along the tribal lines? I'm a bit curious about that. I don't know whether maybe I'm reading too much, but you can sample. In fact, Dalmas Otieno, the former minister, the burial is, I think I saw the program somewhere. Someone's sharing it next week. You will see President attending. You will see Raila Odinga attending. You will not see Kindiki there. And in fact, it will be dominated with the politics of broad-based government. But in in Kiambu, in Kikuyu land, no one is talking about broad-based government. And they're not talking about it. In fact, I'm yet to hear Kimani Ichung'wa talking about broad-based government huko. But wakiwa na Kindiki, Garissa, Mombasa, they talk about, so you see how, and these are the people that say, you know, we are brought together, it's about unity, it's about that, it's about this. Now, but that is not the gist of this. Of all speakers, Bishop, the presiding bishop who was in charge of that funeral, made I think he's the only person who made sense of speaking truth to power. And there are things he said. The first one, he actually challenged the parliament and Speaker Wetangula about the kind of engagements, the value of parliament.
Therefore, every state of life that goes to any extreme is not helpful. It's not helpful. We must be balanced by the Lord. We must be active, but active in the right way. We must be limited and restricted katika mambo tunayofanya. Na nchi hii ya Kenya, lazima tujiulize ni mambo gani tunayohusika nayo ambayo Bwana angeyakemea, kama vile alivyokemea wanafunzi wake. Nyinyi viongozi wetu, ni mambo gani mnayofanya ambayo Bwana akija atawakemea? Na mnaona kama mnafanya vizuri sana, lakini Bwana akija bunge atawakemea. Hiyo mijadala ambayo inaendelea huko wakati mwingine imepoteza wakati, hata hatujui mko mswada gani. Mr. Speaker sir, tumefanya public participation na inasema wakati mwingine mijadala mlio nayo bunge haitusaidii. It doesn't add value to the country. Yesu akitokea atawakemea. Kwa hivyo make good use. Hata nyinyi wananchi nitakuja kwenu. Sababu hata sisi wakati mwingine tunajipata we are wasting time doing what we shouldn't do, making calls we shouldn't be making, writing text we should not be texting. Kama sasa wengine hawasikizi sermon, wameenda Google.
In this political dispensation, you know, I found that very intentional, very critical, very clear about it, the value of parliament. What is he referring to? By the way, you know, and I really concur with that, Bishop. He's the only person who made sense. Sometimes, you know, parliament can take the whole afternoon discussing Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua said this. The whole afternoon until unashindwa sasa hiyo ni gani? And he was asking them, what is the value? What is their value? The second interpretation of the speech by that bishop, that statement by the bishop here is, Parliament passed finance bill and brought this country almost to its knees. Parliament, you know, passed all these legislations to pave way for housing levy, SHA, and many others that you can think about. Through all this, it is also very clear that Wetangula, that the bishop is taking swipe at the MPs. And remember, they were really there in their numbers. Apart from parliament, he also used a parable saying that we can be seen to be doing something, but in real sense, we are not making any progress.
Kwa hivyo katika maisha tunayoishi lazima tuhakikishe kwamba we do a good balance of the right things. So even our leaders, we urge you to be active, but doing the right things. Focus on what you are required to do. And not just our leaders, we as Kenyans as well. We can also get very active doing the wrong things as a country, as the people of this country. Kama raia wema, tuko na shughuli nyingi, bees, running up and down, lakini matokeo ni gani? Unaweza mfugia mdudu mahali, ukafunga labda kwa chupa, ukamfugia hapo. Hawezi toka, lakini anazunguka ndani ya chupa. Anafanya hatua, anazunguka, anadhania kuna kitu atafanya, hata karibuni atatokea. But the truth is that the insect is trapped. It cannot leave that situation. But it cannot be accused of inactivity. It cannot be accused of doing nothing. Anazunguka ndani, anazunguka, lakini hakuna jambo linalofanyika. We can also look very active, but there are no results. There is no delivery. Therefore, we must be active and doing the right things. Again, we cannot afford to be inactive. We can't afford distractions, because even the passage in our second reading talks about Jesus heading to Jerusalem. He was resolute. He was heading to Jerusalem. Alikuwa anajua mahali hapo nitatakikana kufika. Zuia kufika mahali anataka kwenda. Na ndio anaambia wasipite hiyo njia. Na ndio anaambia wasipite hiyo njia ambayo wangetaka yeye pia apite, sababu alielewa hayo yote hayangeleta faida yoyote. We have so many distractions, like the disciples were distracted. As a country, we are always politicking. Siasa nyingi, pande zote. Hawa wanasema hivi, hawa wanasema hivi. Kelele pande hii, kelele pande hii. Yesu akitokea atatuambia nini? Hiyo makelele inaleta faida gani kwa nchi? Kuna mataifa ambayo tuna yaenzi ambayo yamepata maendeleo. Je, walipata maendeleo kwa hii staili yetu? Ya kelele pande hii, ya kujibizana, ya kulimana, ya kuagushana, ya kupakana hivyo ndivyo mataifa hayo tunayoenzi yalivyopata kuendelea. Kwa hivyo tunaweza kuonekana kama kuna jambo tunalolitenda, ukweli ni kwamba hakuna hatua tunayopiga, tunazunguka tu. We are the setter's yoke. The disciples looked like they were very much alert, because they were even reporting to Jesus how they had gone to a place where Jesus had not gone. So they were reporting to Jesus how they had a lot of activity in their lives. Ati wakati hatukuwa karibu na wewe, sisi tulikuwa kazini. Tulikuwa tunachapa kazi. Na kazi moja tulifanya, kuna mtu tulipata.
Listen to this. This best describes what's happening in Kenya Kwanza, or what's happening in Kenya now. When you go to the Facebook page of the president and his deputy and UDA leaders, there's so much, connecting 10,000 houses to electricity, building 10 kilometers of roads, I don't know where, building 200,000 houses where we've set, until now. So if you just walk, if you just go, and even if you listen to the president, you can really see so many activities. The president can paint a picture in your mind that so many things are happening and Kenya has really changed. But that bishop is saying there is a big perception being created. And by the way, there is a big perception created. Someone just arriving in Kenya now who has not been following a podcast and have not been following political activities, if you just listen to the president's speech today, you might think you might even start asking, why are people saying things are not working? And when the president took the microphone, he responded looking a bit irritated on that. And actually, he was strictly responding to the criticism from that bishop.
Is an inspiration to us as a nation. We must believe in ourselves. We must believe in our country. And we must believe that we can change this nation. We are having a conversation, a live conversation now. And I want to challenge us as the citizens of this nation. Kenya cannot continue to be a third world country. We cannot continue to be a third world country. We must have a conversation. Just like Mzee Isaac alitoka kule chini, mahali pa umaskini. Leo tukasikia hapa Kikuyu, nyumba yake amejenga ndio ilikuwa nyumba ya kwanza mpaka bank saa hii ni mteja huko kwa nyumba yake. Ametulelea hawa marafiki. Today we rest him as a man of means, a man of honor, somebody who we can count on. I want to tell you, fellow Kenyans, citizens of this nation, we have a duty, we have a responsibility to change this nation. And I am telling you, it is possible. Look at what we have done with the economy in 3 years. Look at what we have done with agriculture in 3 years. Look at what we have done with housing in 3 years. Look at what we have done in universal health care in 3 years. I promise you, we can change this nation in our lifetime. We must believe in this country. We must believe in ourselves. We must stop the negativity. We must not stop the naysayers and those who speak negatively about our country. Kenya is not a failed state. Kenya is a great nation. We must believe in ourselves. Please, good people, let us believe in ourselves. The same way Mzee Ichun'gwa here believed in himself. He believed in his abilities. He did not give up. He kept on pushing the bounds and the limits. Today we celebrate a great man.
Yes. So the question is, why does President normally speak very irritated when he's criticized? Why is that? Why does he feel that bitter? Because I think he really spoke, the bishop spoke on a general perspective, but he had a targeted message for that audience. I think the president is uncomfortable by the way the public is reacting to those criticism. Akiona watu wakipiga makofi akifurahia that the bishop is raising that, and I feel like those are votes now dropping from the basket. And then he feels very uncomfortable by that kind of trend. The church also, the fact that that is coming from a bishop, and the church has a higher visibility and believability. Remember, if there's a team that really catapulted William Ruto to State House, is the church. That was the launch pad for 2022 campaigns. That is where everything was said and done. That is where mobilization was done. They were even paid every Sunday so that they can just run banners praising the president. And I think those opposing it feels, the president always feels that there's someone has infiltrated the event. You know, there's some Rigathi Gachagua loyalists that have infiltrated the event, and probably the bishop is profiled as a Rigathi person. But you'll understand that some of these things are so natural that they just come out. You don't force it. If you want to say this is not working right, now it's what that bishop is saying is not new. That's a daily conversation in the churches, in the corridors, in the chamas. This is the daily conversation that the country is having. And according to the president, everything is fine. You know, I've always heard the story of 23 million Kenyans have now registered in SHA compared to the 14 million that were in NHIF. Then you ask another question. Out of this 23 million, ni wangapi wamelipa? Ask that question. You said we are going to put money into chronic. Aren't we still having fundraisers of people who have reached 2.3 million in surgeries? Aren't we still having people that are moving out of this country to to India? Why is it that mtu akitoka India approvals inafanya kisha toka India hiyo pesa ilipwe? Are we still having the drugs in the hospitals? Those are the discussions. You talk about we are building 200,000 houses. Yes, you've created jobs zikishajengwa. You've created jobs, there's that supply chain. But hiyo nyumba ikishaisha, what next? Like mimi ambayo nime-contribute, or let's say I've not contributed and I've not gotten the house. How has that changed me? And by the way, affordable housing has not changed the cost of mortgage significantly. So, really, there is no need ya kukasirika. Sababu, anyway, people are just giving their opinions. Thank you.